Hello and welcome to the morning after show presented by betonline.ag. My name is Joshua Reimer. I'm joined by none other than Jared Block, who is over on my right. Jared, how are you doing this fine morning?
Doing great. Got a jam-packed show for you. I know we're both a little tired this morning.
Yeah.
You can't drink coffee. I can. I stayed up till like 2 last night,
Nice.
which is unorthodox for me on a Sunday. So I don't know about you, but I'm not fully acclimated to this whole daylight savings time thing right now.
No, man. I mean, like, it's rough. It's rough out here. There's no reason for daylight savings time. I'm very mad about this spring forward thing. It's ruining my sleep schedule quite a bit. On top of not being able to have coffee this morning, I'm a little bit in shambles, but that's all right. We have a lot of sports to go over. A ton happened this weekend that we need to cover from the sports world. Tree Crew 27 says, "Yo" in the chat. What's going on, man? But yeah, it should be a good show. We have plenty to cover. March Madness, NBA recap, UFC recap. It's going to be a lot to talk about today.
Yeah, ironically, our busiest Monday in a long time.
Yeah, well, a long, long time. So let's kick it off. Let's start with March Madness and talk about the bracket got announced yesterday. We're going to talk about the one seeds in all of the bracket sides. So in the West, it's Gonzaga. In the South, it's Arizona. In the East, it's Baylor. And in the Midwest, it's Kansas. What is your initial thoughts? Do you think anyone got screwed out of the bracket? Do you think anyone got lucky here? Like, what do you think about the bracket so far?
Yeah, I mean, hopefully, I know that they touched on this very, very briefly because they should have been a one seed anyway. But I think that the broadcast probably didn't give as much light, and hopefully the team behind the actual seeding didn't just throw Gonzaga in at the number one overall and just call it a day without some thinking about it. Because I don't know if they were the team that was most that deserved it the most, I guess, is my opinion. So who knows? But they are the number one overall seed. Kind of surprised that Baylor got in after losing in the conference tournament themselves. Nothing that really surprises me stands out. I guess I am. Some of the Big Ten stuff got really screwed up during the conference tournament, which directly affected how the seeding played out. We saw Purdue lose in the final game of the final conference tournament in the Big Ten. They were the last ones to seal their deal. So Iowa comes in. Where did Iowa actually get?
Iowa got ranked at number 5 in the Midwest in the Kansas bracket.
Okay, that they kind of got screwed a little bit.
Yeah.
I think that they could have gone a little bit higher. And they also got Richmond, who arguably could be the hottest team in college sports right now.
Yeah.
They went on a massive tear and took down number one Davidson over the weekend. So I think that 5-12 is really, really intriguing. But I think Iowa does come out on top. But we've seen in the past, the ones that you want to target, those 413s, 512s, are really, really tricky. So
Yep.
I'm not really sure who else. Like I haven't really put a finger on who I think could be a team that could get upset. But keep an eye on. I'm calling one shot here that could be something to look at. I think that a team like Vermont could be a really nice upset spot against Arkansas. Been watching that
Okay.
Vermont team a lot the last couple of weeks, so that's something to keep your eye on. Chattanooga against an Illinois team that really has been pretty slow down the stretch here in Chattanooga. You're always looking for momentum and things like that. And sure, I think that there's two different levels of class here, obviously, but I do think Chattanooga is another 13 seed that could do some damage.
Hey, I like it. I can get behind it for sure. What are our two playing games that we have? Because we do have to get those settled before this bracket is fully live.
So the first four matchups, there's a couple on Tuesday and then a couple on Wednesday. The four first matchup is Texas A&M DC as well as Texas Southern. Texas Southern, interesting spot. This is a team that is very familiar with March Madness in general. They've been a part of a few upsets over the past couple of years. Keep an eye on them. I have to dive more in because I didn't. Texas Southern really hasn't been on my radar. Neither is Texas A&M. As far as Indiana Wyoming goes, this is an Indiana team that made some run in the Big Ten Conference. They were not good in the regular season, and they have to take on Wyoming. I do think Indiana has a leg up there, seeing as the Big Ten has the most teams in the country in the tournament this year. Believe they have 9 teams, which is like over
Wow.
3/4 of their conference. Um, so, and then on Wednesday, Bryant versus Wright State. I think Wright State is the better team between the two. And then Notre Dame, Rutgers. I don't really have a lean here, but if I had to lean one way or the other, I would take Notre Dame. Again, Rutgers counts as one of those Big Ten teams as well.
Yeah, should be very interesting. I'm just seeing all these games now. All those games play out on Tuesday and Wednesday, and then we get the real thing on Thursday. Day basketball for weeks on weeks is what I'm excited for.
Mm.
We have the first game on Thursday starting at 11:15, so we're gonna have plenty of basketball to watch. Bacon says think Tennessee should have been a 2 seed. I could definitely see that. I
Yeah,
like that Tennessee team a lot. I don't know where did they end up. I didn't see exactly where they are at. I had to click through this here. Oh, they're a 3 seed in the South. At least they got a pretty easy division and all, or a pretty easy
yeah.
part of the bracket. But I don't know. Should be interesting. There's a lot. There's a lot of stuff here, and like we've said, like this is the first year in a while where it feels like anyone could do it.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I've been trying to tell everybody who's joining our bracket, which we'll get to in a second. I know that some of you guys don't watch college basketball or only watch it this time of year, and they don't really have anything. You haven't really watched the teams over the past 5 months. But if there's a year that you want to just throw some teams in, this would be the one because there's really nobody that stands out tremendously. Again, like I said, don't know if Gonzaga, while they were worthy of a 1 seed, don't know if it was just as easy of a conversation as, hey, let's give them the top overall seed and go from there. I think that there are, especially for Duke, that's kind of a tough beat. But yeah, whatever. They won't have to face Gonzaga until the Final Four or the Elite Eight if they get that far on either side. Now, as far as Tennessee goes, you bring up an interesting point. They do have to face Villanova if they make it through to that will be the Sweet 16 at that point. So what I have noticed this year specifically is that they're in a year where we don't have this lopsided 1 to 2 to 3 teams that could take everything down pretty easily. Look for teams that have super seniors on them or stacked teams that have lots of top-loaded seniors. And one of those teams is Iowa. One of those Jordan Bohannon was the guy that basically took over the tournament
Oh,
last weekend, and he I think it's his 5th year in the league. And we have Brad Davison for Wisconsin. It's another team. Villanova has Connor Gillespie. He's been in college basketball for I don't know like 18 years. Uh, and then there's a few other teams that have top-loaded rosters, and you have to kind of look for those teams. And that's why these upsets kind of happen more often than not, is because they do have backloaded things. Because if you think about it, teams like Illinois, teams like Arkansas, teams like Michigan State, like the big powerhouses and the Power Fives, they will repeatedly get into the tournament year after year for the most part. When teams like Chattanooga and Vermont are battling out New Mexico State, they're all battling, and they only get in once every 6-7 years because of the way that things shape out between their freshmen and sophomores turning into their juniors and seniors and flipping over. So keep an eye on that. That's probably the biggest edges that we could have this tournament specifically, is finding colleges that have teams that have kind of had like senior stacks on top of them. So I'm very interested to see how things go. And, while we make a big deal about all these top 10, top 15 seeds losing in spots that they shouldn't have lost in February, they'll probably, 90% of them will right the ship here. But there might be one or two that just come in a little bit too cocky in the first couple rounds.
Yeah, should be interesting. Lots of fun games to watch. It'll definitely be a good time. So, do you want to? Where do we have that Roto Radar challenge up in the Discord?
Yep. So the bracket link itself is in our announcements tab under the Discord info area of the server. It is the last post from last night. So we'll make sure to hit that a few times this week. But it is 100% free to enter as long as you fill out your bracket by Thursday morning. And we are giving out prizes to the top 20. So places 11 through 20 are given our bucks right before baseball season starts, conveniently. That's exactly why we did it. So the tournament ends April 4th. Major League Opening Day is April 7th. And then the grand prize, first place, gets a Roto Radar Hall of Fame pass, which is all packages, all sports. 1 year of content estimated at around 5,000 G's or $5,000. 5,000 G's would be pretty insane.
5,000 G's would be absolutely insane.
Yeah, so that's where it is now. Obviously, Josh and I are tired, so that's going to
Mhm.
happen a lot on this stream. But yeah, go head over there. I think we have like 70 registered brackets already. I have not filled out mine yet. Need to do a little bit more research. Obviously, you can change it whenever, as long as it's finalized by Thursday morning. So
Yeah.
if you made it already, you can go back and change things all the time. Let's see. South Dakota State could take 13v4. Yeah, South Dakota State is a Summit League team that could and has in the past. I was really heavy on them 2 years ago when they had Dom. I believe Mike Dom was on that team. Maybe he was on
Hmm.
South Dakota, but I think he was on South Dakota State.
He was on.
Anyway,
Maybe I don't know.
whatever team that was a 12 or 13 a couple years ago, and they had a massive super senior squad that took down and advanced. So yeah, I could definitely see that. So keep an eye on that always, because those, like I said, those teams, um, the teams that win the smaller conferences that get the automatic bid, those are the teams to watch out for. And taking on a team in Providence who did win the Big East, but they got crushed in the Big East tournament by Creighton. So yeah, definitely don't mind the take there. Purdue doesn't make it to the second weekend. They don't play defense. Got beat by Virginia Tech second round. Okay, that's a hot take. I like it. Purdue didn't look all that great yesterday, so I definitely can get behind that. Michigan Final Four, book it. That sounds like a little bit of a homer
Homer.
call there.
Yeah, a little bit of a homer call.
I
Losing
will say,
streaks. Oh, go ahead.
I'll go out of my way and say that Wisconsin doesn't make it out of the second round either.
Oh no, not Wisconsin, not Johnny Davis. Here, you want to hear my hot take? Duke gets upset by Davidson in the second round. I'm calling it
Yep,
here so I can get ahead of it and just call it a day. Duke gets upset by Davidson in the second round, and it's
I
very
wasn't going to say
close.
it.
It's very close in the first round with the 15 seed. We've lost to a 15 seed before. I
Yep,
remember losing to that 15 seed, but I think we lose to Davidson in the second round. That team, man, I keep trying to hold out hope, but that ACC championship play was really rough against the Hokies. I was texting my buddy about it and just saying that like this is the first team under Coach K in quite a long time that seems like they really don't want to play defense. And at the end of the day, you need your defense in March Madness. So should be interesting to see. I hope they make it far, but I'm not holding out hope whatsoever. Losing Streak said we don't have to predict the play-in games, right? Would give us more time. Yes, you don't have to predict the
that's right.
play-in games. This locks as soon as the tourney starts, like the actual tourney, which
Thursday
is
morning.
going. Yeah, Thursday morning. I think first game from what I saw was at 11:15 or 12:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. All right. Oh, Bacon already already twisting the knife saying second, you mean first. Look, I don't want to hear it from your 8 seed Tar Heels. I don't need to hear anything about it. All right. Anything else here? If not, let's talk about the NBA and how terrible of a weekend I had.
No, go head over to the announcements tab. You have 3 days to do this if you want. Like the only way that you would like you can pick the first four if you really wanted to, but you in order to actually make that count, you would need them to advance in the first round, which has happened recently. But need we remind you that that's like a once in a like 10, 12 years kind of thing. So actually once every like 30 years kind of thing. So we'll
Look at
see how
that.
it goes.
First time chat from a new viewer. Bean Camp says UNC trash this year. I think I like this. Think I like this guy. All right, let's keep it moving. Let's talk about the NBA. Everything that happened this weekend. I had my worst weekend in NBA history since I think before the new year. This is the first time I've had a losing sweep of the weekend, which really sucked, man. I mean, awful way to kick things off, especially after the announcement. Like, I felt personally bad. So I'm excited to get things ramped up this week. I'm excited to get back on track. But we still have to cover everything that happened this weekend, including LeBron just going bonkers on Friday. I mean, you remember my take. We had the podcast together.
Yeah.
Me saying that I didn't think things would work out for him. Thought the Wizards play slow. Didn't matter when it came to LeBron. It did matter when it came to LeBron, though, last night when he doesn't show up and the first time I played him all week. Like, what is this? What's going on here, LBJ? Why are you screwing me? So we saw them have a really good game against the Wizards on Friday. We saw them have a really bad game against the Suns last night. I guess
Yep.
kind of to be expected, right? That Suns team is pretty good. Even without Chris
Yep.
Paul, they're pretty solid. But losing 140 to 111, this places this Lakers team at 29 and 37, places them at the 9 seed in the West. They're officially 5 games back from the Clippers for the 8 seed.
Yep.
Rough, man. It's a tough day out here for Lakers fans, including myself. What do you think about this Lakers team as of right now?
Yeah, I did not watch more than all I had needed to see was the first like 6 minutes of the game yesterday
Same.
to see what I wanted to see. So they are horrific on the road this year. They're 9-22, which is a bottom five record. Only the only team that's better or worse than them in their own conference is the Houston Rockets. So, and that's a team that's lost 50 games. It's going to be really weird. But here's my thing, right? Kind of ironic how LeBron complained about the plan, but now the plan's going to save him this year.
Yeah,
Pretend.
I don't know, man, because like I don't know if the playoffs save you as a team like you don't win with a team like this. You don't win with a team that when you get in a hole, it seems like LeBron said it perfectly last night. It's a team that just gives up almost, and it's so sad to see and so sad to hear. But it's a fact. It's what's been happening, and this Lakers team is in shambles right now. So I know they're saying like Frank Vogel said Anthony Davis coming back always gives us a chance. I don't know. I hope I'm proven wrong, but I don't see this team making it very far right now.
He is right in saying he gives you a chance. I just don't know how good of a chance that really is at the
Not
end
a
of the
very
day
yeah.
because you're still in the spot where I don't think you can rely on your bench. And when it comes
Nope.
down to like who's your like when the teams basically take out your number one and two scorers, like who's going to step up there? It's going to be a spot where in teams that LeBron's been on in the past, he's going to obviously do his part, but you're going to have guys outside of Davis and Westbrook step up. And I mean, Malik Monk has done that at times this season, but who else is back there? Like Carmelo's not. Maybe he gives you one game of 30 points, but is that enough to even advance one round? I don't think so.
No, it isn't at the end of the day. What I saw something interesting on Twitter this morning, completely just a fan take out there on Lakers Twitter, but I thought it was interesting. What do you think about this team potentially picking up Quinn Snyder since Snyder's contract is done this year? Do you think it fixes these problems? Do you think at the end of the day this head coaching situation is just a scapegoat for everything? Like that's how I feel personally. I think Vogel's still a solid head coach. I think at the end of the day you just have to have your scapegoat in the media, and that's the Lakers scapegoat right now. But what are your thoughts on the head coaching situation for the Lakers?
Well, I mean, it's a microscope situation, obviously, right? Like you're the coach of the LA Lakers, and you are coaching a team that has LeBron James on it, and Anthony Davis, and Russell Westbrook, and Carmelo Anthony, and you are also, 5 games back of the team that you share the stadium with, which is the team that most LA fans could care less about. So it's interesting. It's just there are a lot of dynamic pieces here, and yeah, at the end of the day, I think that anytime the Lakers have a losing season, it's you know a situation where it's unacceptable in their eyes because they are one of the most famous sports teams in the world when it comes to just world sports. So anytime that happens, it's always going to be a microscope, and they have to find somebody to blame. And I mean, while LeBron's going to say that some of it's his fault, he's been pretty amazing this year.
Yeah, he truly, I mean, age and everything, it's been one of the best seasons ever by someone his age. So, you're right. He definitely has been amazing. There's a lot of other people. Giannis for Perez, thank you for subbing at tier 1. We greatly appreciate it. He said 2 words, Brooke Lopez. Speaking of those 2 words, let's talk about your Bucks, because if I have to suffer through this show here, you have to suffer as well. Bucks ended up losing to the Warriors, 122 to 109. Tough loss, man. I honestly thought you guys had things handled here to beat the Warriors since they have been on this tough stretch recently. What are your thoughts here as a Bucks fan losing this game?
Yeah, I watched like one half of this game, and when Steph Curry, like I know he got hurt, like he jammed his finger, and then basically was just assist man, the whole night. When you score 8 points and the Warriors beat you by 20, I have a problem with it. So not great for the second half of the Bucks, but it's pretty easy. Like when teams like the Warriors shoot the three ball well, the Bucks just have no shot against teams like that in those specific games. They allow so many 3 pointers, which is why we attack the other side for DFS purposes. Excuse me. And Klay Thompson ends up with 38. Jordan Poole ends up with 30. Like if they're shooting lights out like that, then the Bucks don't really have much of a spot to keep up. But they dig their own grave, and that's how they let the three fly. They also give up a bunch of threes, and when those things outweigh the scales, then they lose, and that's just the way that they play.
Any shock about how Curry played in this game? One of his worst games of the season, bar none. 8 points, 8 rebounds, or no, 8 assists, 5 rebounds. For one of his worst games. Poole and Klay Thompson really took over the shooting, but seeing that game from him really shocked me.
Yeah, I mean the Curry thing, like Clay got hot early and Curry jammed his finger. I think it was in the first half. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was early in the second half, but he jammed his finger, which obviously clearly they were controlling the game, so they didn't really have to rely on his offense. So yeah, I'm not really surprised by the low stat line here, just given how on point the other shooters were. But yeah, I think it's just a blip in the radar for him.
Yeah, I would tend to agree. All right, anything else with NBA? If not, we have some UFC to talk about because man, what a UFC card it was in UFC Vegas 50.
I don't have much. I will say, just looking at this now, we talked briefly about this on Wednesday, or I think it was Wednesday or Thursday. Uh, Joker was a plus 150 underdog to win the MVP race. And we said, keep an eye on this. The Nets had yet to play the Sixers that I think it might have been earlier in the week. So the Nets had yet to play the Sixers. Joker was going bananas all week. And we felt that it was necessary to say if you wanted to get a bet on Joker for MVP, there was still really, really nice odds to do so. As of this morning, Joel Embiid minus 120, Joker all the way up down now to plus 125.
Interesting. I like that bet. Plus, I think Joker wins it, but hey, that's just me, I guess. All right, let's talk about UFC. Let's talk about this crazy. Yeah, Bacon said he got Joker at plus 1,000. I like your odds. Um,
Oh, okay.
let's talk about UFC and talk about everything else that's going on here because man, what a card it was. A ton of comeback victories for a lot of different guys and a lot of my fighters. So I was a
Yep.
happy camper on Saturday. It starts all off with the first fight with Azamat Mirzakhanov. I hope I got
Yep.
that right. I don't think I did, but it's okay. And Defon Nchukwi, I know I got that one right. Nchukwi absolutely dominating throughout the first two rounds. Azamat ends up with a flying knee, knocking
Yep.
him straight out on his back. Man, that was a lot of fun to watch. I enjoyed it at the very least. I hope others did too.
Yeah, that was I turned it on and it was immediately there because I missed the first
Nice.
couple rounds and that it was just like within 30 seconds that's what I saw. And I was like, "Oh, nothing like a comeback." And it was his first event in the UFC at
Yep.
like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Yeah, good times.
Yeah, good times indeed. And then we had Guido Canetti end up knocking out Chris Mutino. I was shocked that so many people were on Chris Mutino. I don't know if you remember who Chris Mutino is. Chris Mutino is the guy who faced off against Sean O'Malley on that pay per
Yep,
view card of
that's
Conor
right.
McGregor versus Dustin Poirier 3. And Mutino just got his shit rocked. 400 significant strikes straight to the face. And people were all about how, oh, he's got heart, he's got this, he's got that. Yeah, heart doesn't matter when you're getting hit that many times. And Guido Canetti showed that if you can just lay some punches on this guy, he's going to get knocked out. So good win by Guido Canetti. Guido Canetti's 42 years old. So just think about that for a second and think about how he got a UFC win this weekend. We had Cody Brundage get the underdog win for us. That was really great. Had a few boring fights in there, here and there. Man, I guess the main fight to talk about, the main fight that everyone's talking about, is the Delber versus Terrence McKinney fight.
Yeah.
This I so we got off of a show, I think on Friday or Friday or Wednesday, I don't remember what day. We were talking about, you were asking, like, is that the Terrence McKinney that fought 2 weeks ago? And I was like, yep, that's him. He's facing off against Drew Dober, and man, I really think Drew Dober ends up getting this win. And I listed all the reasons why. I said McKinney short camp, like, just doesn't feel right. It feels like everyone's hyping up McKinney too much. And they weren't hyping him up too much because McKinney looked like he was on fire to start out that
Hmm.
fight. He looked at 110%, but somehow, some way, with probably some type of concussion, Drew Dober ended up lasting through all of those strikes that Terrence McKinney threw his way. Ended up getting a big win with his ground strikes. That was a very entertaining fight.
Yeah, it was. I listened to you, but then we were just like, I was like, oh no, Josh is gonna
Yeah,
hopefully this doesn't go wrong here. And then I don't know, I got to give it like you talk about heart. I guess I mean it goes the other way with Dober, right? Because he didn't give up. He was getting rocked, and then he basically knew that the only way that he could make it through was to go and just go right back into him with the. That was the guy that had the guillotine choke, right?
yeah,
Yeah, so I mean, ballsy move, especially against McKinney, because if you get too close to him, you're pretty much done. So he took a lot of shots, and it paid off for him. But yeah, I mean, it's tough for McKinney because like he came in extremely confident. He just finished a guy less than 2 weeks ago. That was the longest fight that he's ever had in the UFC, bar none.
yeah, yeah. It is. I mean, they were in the first round for 3 minutes, so that's shocking. He doesn't last
Yeah.
very long in fights, and that showed. It kind of comes to a point where if you do have championship aspirations, then you probably need to change your game plan because it showed how that game plan doesn't really work against the upper echelon of the lightweight division. But it's
Right.
going to be interesting. I want to see his next fight because I want to see what he does next. Like, is there a change in game plans, or are you going to continue to have this same style, which seems like it really hurt him. Going through the rest of the card, we had Khalil Roundtree land the nastiest kick I've seen in a long time.
Yeah,
Did you
that
see
was.
this kick that he landed to the midsection of Carl Roberson? Because it made me sick looking at it. It was absolutely nasty.
Yeah, this is like I know that John Jones is scary, but Khalil Roundtree is that dude.
Yeah,
Like
Khalil.
he is
Yeah,
probably the scariest guy in the ring that I can say. Like I
yeah.
can see.
It'd be scary to stand across from that guy for sure. All right, Sadiq Youssef won against Alex Caceres. Not much of a surprise there. Yadong Song ends up absolutely TKOing Marlon Moraes with this nasty uppercut that was absolutely insane. Um, it kind of spells the end to Marlon Moraes' career a little bit. He put the gloves down in the octagon, so there's a good chance that he's going to retire. That's really sad, man. You look at the record for Marlon Moraes, you look at who he faced off against in the UFC. This guy was like the next thing. Like this guy, he won against Jose Aldo, he won against
Mhm.
Rafael Sunsao, he won against Aljamain Sterling early on in his career. He lost to Henry Cejudo, like just barely too. And now he's had four straight losses against Corey Sandhagen, Rob Font, Merab Davalishvili, and Ryodong Song. It seems like Marlon Moraes is just about done, and that's really sad because this guy, he was electric when he was good, but obviously something rang his bell, something isn't right, and
Yep.
he probably needs to step away.
Well, confidence is all about that too. So
Yeah,
yeah, I mean, tough matchup in Song Yudong, who's
yeah.
coming up very fast, and yeah, I just not a. I don't know how you necessarily agreed to that one, but I guess he probably doesn't have a choice right now.
Yeah, well, so I found out why. I was watching a show and I found out about this. He's making $120,000 to show up,
Oh,
$120,000 to win. So I
interesting.
obviously like that's for those who don't know in the UFC, they don't really get paid that much money. That's like 10 times the rookie contract numbers. So they are when he goes out there, they need him to put on a show. Either they need him to put on a show, or they need to use him to bring up a prospect when you're paying him that much. And that's what they've been doing for the last like four fights. It's using him to bring up prospects. And so Yudong Song, you're right, definitely moving up the ranks really quickly. Very talented fighter, and he's probably the most talented Chinese fighter on the roster. So it's definitely a good spot for him. But I'm definitely sad about Marlon Moraes. Finally, main event: Magomed Ankalaev facing off against Thiago Santos. Magomed gets a really, I mean, it's for such an entertaining card. What a boring win to end
Yeah.
off the card because I could have slept the 25 minutes and used my time better.
Yeah, and this was at like I don't know 8 o'clock Central Time. So I was just like, oh really? This is it? So the night's over?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean compared to like this is almost a flip of last week, kind of,
yeah. Seriously.
where the main fight was awesome and then all the rest were kind of sleepers. Now we had like I don't know. Early, I mean, it's just it started earlier on, like you said. There was kind of some lulls in between, but we had like 7 out of the like 10 first fights were finishes, and then after that it was pretty rough. So I mean, I don't know. Santos just seemed outclassed there, and he wasn't doing enough. And Magomed just basically just kind of I wouldn't say coasted. That's not the right word, but he really didn't have to do much. And I think that I guess you could speak on this more than I can. Both guys have a ton of finishing power, and it just seemed like they weren't willing to use it to expose themselves.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's kind of scary going up in the octagon. I mean, we saw what happens
Sure,
when you just
obviously.
expose yourself. We saw the Johnny Walker fight. I mean, you remember that? Like Johnny Walker gets laid out as stiff as a board because he opens himself up a little bit. Kind of the
Yep.
same thing here. Like you open yourself up a little bit, you're probably going to get laid out. Man, just it's scary to be in there with another guy who's 205 pounds, and so I feel like Magomed kind of knew he could just win this one by coasting. Tiago almost had it, man. Like he did get close to that TKO, I think in
Yeah.
round two.
Mhm.
But then after that, it just seemed like they weren't ever willing to open up. It opens up a big question, like what do you do with Tiago Santos? Because he loses this fight. He lost against Alexander Rakic. He lost against Glover Teixeira for the belt. The last fight he had that he won was a Johnny Walker fight, but that
Yeah.
I don't feel like that win means much. So I feel like you're in a really confusing spot with Tiago Santos, and I don't know where to personally put him right now. So I think it should be interesting with Magomed. I want to see him fight
He's
another contender right now. He needs to
okay.
fight another contender, and he has a chance at the belt if he can get another win.
Right. I mean, they were talking about him already being a favorite over Glover. So
Yeah,
I don't know.
I,
Do you think that
everyone's a
he needs one more? Well, yeah,
everyone's a favorite
I
over
agree.
Glover until they fight
I
Glover.
agree.
Like,
I agree. I agree. So, like, you still think that there's some guys on the way?
I think so. I think at the end of the day, you're going to see this Glover fight against Yuri, and then Magomed can still fight some guys in this light heavyweight division. Um, I think there's one more guy because you look at the record so far, and there's not really that very convincing win. I mean, the win against Kudalaba was good, but it was done twice, and we kind of knew he was going to get that type of win. Against Krylov, good, but unanimous decision is not what you want to see. Another unanimous decision against Ozdemir. And if this was a TKO, I would have a little bit different viewpoint here. I would say maybe that Thiago Santos could get the job done. Or not Thiago. I think that maybe you could see Magomed end up going for the belt. But having that boring of a fight, you need to add on to that. So I think he needs one more before he ends up challenging for the belt. But he will challenge for the belt soon. He's 17-1. He's very potentially the best light heavyweight in the division, and it should be interesting to see when he does challenge for the belt.
Yeah, would it have helped his stock just a little bit if he would have finished Santos?
Yes, 100%. He needed to finish
Okay,
that. Like I
because
said,
that
he needs
yeah
to finish Santos to get the chance, in my opinion.
yeah. Like a 5 round decision, really, and like even though it was convincing, I don't know. Like he did wobble Santos a few times early, and then just from there, kind of like I said, I don't want to use the word coast because I would never be able to step in a ring with any of these guys. But
Yeah. It's
that's
hard
what it
talking
looked
about
like.
these guys, like being critical of their skills when you realize like they could rock your shit any day of the week. That's
Yeah, because like when you're like the same, I think Magomed's like an inch taller than me, and we're like the same weight. So it
that's
just
insane. Wait,
yeah.
that's it. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, I
Oh,
think you think he's like weren't both of these guys 205?
I mean, they weighed in at 205. Probably on fight night they
Oh,
were around like
all right.
220,
Well,
but
he's probably got 15, 20 pounds on me then.
okay,
Yeah.
all right. That makes you feel a little bit better. That's insane,
Yeah,
though,
just a
man.
little bit. Yeah,
That's crazy.
yeah,
All right, yeah. So lots of fun stuff with UFC. We have one of the most exciting cards coming up with UFC London. Ton of great fights. So this is the first fight night card that they're taking out of Vegas. They're going to London for this one. It'll be a lot of fun. We have Breeze and Aspinall at the top of this one. Or not Breeze and Aspinall. Sorry, I'm thinking of a former fight. Volkov and Aspinall at the top of
yep.
this card. But then you have Paddy Pimblett fighting. You have Dan Hooker. You have Shamil Abdurakhimov. You have Paul Craig. You have Gunnar Nelson. I mean, you have a ton of great fights on this card. And I know everyone's just excited for Paddy Pimblett. I mean, at the end of the day,
Yeah.
I think that's what we're all looking forward to. So, this is going to be fun, man. This is going to be a good time. This is one of my favorite UFC fight night cards that we've had in a really, really long time.
Yeah, I was like, this makes much more sense why Paddy Pimblett's as high up on the card as he is.
Yeah.
Now that it's in London, I did not know that, so it makes much more sense now. Far as betting odds go, BetOnline has Tom Aspinall as the favorite. It's very, very slight. I actually think that it's probably going to be an even line most of the week. Minus 111, while Volkov is minus 109, so like no edge there, but like
Nothing.
it's basically an even fight. We have Hooker as the slight underdog to Arnold Allen, minus 115 to minus 105, and then Pimblett looks to be the heaviest favorite on the card at minus 400.
Yeah, rightfully so. Patty should dominate here. So I'm excited to watch this one. It should be a lot of fun. And we have a couple of good cards coming up. We have this one, then we have the Ohio card where it's another UFC fight night that they're taking out of Vegas. And this one they're going to Ohio, which I don't know why they're doing that
Why?
for Blades Dawkins, but I think it's because Dawkins is based out of Ohio. But
Okay.
potentially that might be the reason why. Regardless, lots of good fights there. Kai Kara France, Brian Barberena, Alexei Olenek, a ton of good fights in that one. So, and then you have a week break, and then we have the best pay per view of the year of UFC 274. Just a ton of good fights. Finally get to figure out what the hell happens in bantamweight division. Finally get to see more Volkanovski against the Korean Zombie, and get to see a ton of great fights littered all over the card. So UFC is on a good little stretch here for the next three, where we don't have to deal with any boring fights or any boring fight cards because a lot of these are going to be really, really fun.
Yeah, that UFC 273 weekend is that week specifically is one of the biggest weeks in sports that we're gonna have until football comes back because that is national championship final four or like final four into national championship into MLB opening day, and
Yeah.
then Saturday is that card.
Yeah, it is an insane week, so it's going to be a lot of fun. Last week of NBA too, right before the playoffs. It's a very exciting week, and to top it off all with that card. Gets me pretty pumped up. All right, let's we have plenty more to talk about, and we only have 20 minutes to do it. So let's get to it. Let's talk about NFL free agency and everything that's going on in the NFL world. We found out the humongous news yesterday that Tom Brady decided to unretire. People in dynasty leagues who dropped Tom Brady are in absolute shambles right now, Jared. What are your thoughts here on the Tom Brady news? And how good does this make this Bucks team?
Yeah, I mean, it's a big day, and he did it on purpose yesterday for a reason. Today is free agency day. It's a time where everybody's either, they were talking with their agents over the weekend or last week, and they have made plans to start talking and taking calls with other teams. And now with Tom Brady coming back, you take a look at the Bucks, and there's probably 15 to 20 starters that were negotiating things because they thought that they were starting a rebuild and
Mhm.
they were probably looking to go somewhere else. And you did have Chris Godwin locked up, so he's going to be fine. But other guys like Leonard Fournette, like it was a big crossroads for him because like why would you? He's coming off of two back-to-back amazing seasons for the Bucks, and yeah, he did get hurt down the stretch, but he would have probably signed somewhere else and made bank for
Yeah.
another contender. So now you have a lot of these guys, and Gronk included, where I mean, I'm thinking that they'll all try to run it back again.
Yeah, it seems like it should be exciting, should be interesting because we poked a lot of holes in this team just last year. I feel like getting the band back together isn't what the doctor ordered. Like it's still gonna be a tough go of things, especially in that NFC. Maybe he saw Rogers return and he was like, all right, I guess I had to return too.
Yeah.
Who knows? But it's gonna be rough in the NFC with Brady there.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's still. I think that the AFC is more top loaded, but as far as the NFC goes, you do lose Russell Wilson to the AFC, and then Deshaun
Yeah.
Watson's kind of up in the air for a question mark. But he sees the writing on the wall. He knows the Saints are going to be. Uh, Maybe they are a playoff contender. Who knows? But the rest of the division, he's got nothing to worry about. So how does he go from? Because now the AFC East is good. So how does he go from the AFC East sucking for forever and then goes to arguably the next worst division after that? It
Who
just
knows?
it's
Just
infuriating. But anyway,
yeah.
yeah, I mean, I don't know. The Bucks should be all right, and they went through the injury bug last year and lost all their weapons down the stretch. So if they can come back and stay healthy, and who knows what they do with Antonio Brown, that still has to be figured out. But I'm sure that they'll have some more free agents coming over to the Bucks because while this doesn't only affect just the Bucks free agents, it affects the entire free agency class. And you're going to find probably 3 to 5 guys that would be willing to jump to take a veteran cut to play for that team.
Hey, you have no room to talk about easy divisions, Jared. Look at the NFC North. You're facing the easiest division in the whole NFC and in the
Yeah,
whole league, in my opinion.
you're
So
right.
you have no room to talk about easy divisions here. Regardless, Bacon is telling me to watch it, so I guess we'll move on and talk about something else. Let's talk about your Packers a little bit more because we got the news this morning that Devontae Adams told the Packers he will not play on the franchise tag this season. So potential holdout situation here. They're pretty far away from a deal from what I've heard. They're not really close money wise. So what are your thoughts on this whole Devonte Adams situation and how concerning is it to you?
It's not concerning, but I wouldn't want to do it either. Like I kind of figured that this was going to be a thing they would try to do, and if he didn't agree to it, then they'll try to figure it out. So what this offseason has shown and this whole year itself has shown is that they are literally willing to listen to whatever Aaron has to say, and they've been trying to make it work with all the players around him. So what they did today was they released Darius Smith, which should open up some room, and they also extended Preston Smith. They also let go of Billy Turner. So there's money opening up for Adams. It's probably just going to be a backloaded contract over, I don't know, probably 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, should be interesting to see what that contract looks like. I'm excited to see because Bacon's right. No reason he shouldn't be one of, or if not the
He
highest
should be
paid.
the yeah,
Yeah,
he should be the highest paid receiver.
For sure, without a doubt. All right, let's keep moving on. Talk more about your Packers because they extended Preston Smith, but we did find out this morning that they released Darius Smith. Darius Smith was a big part to your pass rush, so I know you guys had to let him go, but I kind of feel like letting him go was a big mistake too. What are your thoughts on the whole Darius Smith situation?
He had a great 2020 campaign, and then did not play last year at all outside of the first game. He had a back
Yep,
injury and then came back at the very, very end of the season. So, not didn't really do anything for us. And we have guys like Rashawn Gary that stepped up. And yeah, I don't think. I mean, they chose who they were going to pay and who they weren't. And Z Smith was not one of those guys. They did pay Kenny Clark. They did pay Preston Smith. They're going to work on a deal with Devondre Campbell. So like, there's just no money to go around.
for sure. All right, keeping it up in the NFC North, found out that Vikings extended Kirk Cousins 1 year on his contract, making him the quarterback for one more season. Any thoughts here? I think at the end of the day, it was just the fact that they maybe shopped him around a little bit, was hoping to get some return similar, maybe to Russell Wilson or something, and just wasn't able to find anything because Kirk Cousins isn't going to demand that price tag.
Yeah, I saw that there were teams that were, the Vikings had conversations around sending Cousins. I saw things that were similar to, not as egregious or lopsided, but similar to the Broncos situation. I saw things that were around the Carson Wentz area as well. But yeah, no, Kirk is, I mean, I think he is, as vanilla as they come. So
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
it's tough because you're already they're in a weird spot because they have a great couple of wide receivers. They have Irv Smith coming back. They have Dalvin Cook if he stays healthy, and they have a quarterback that can connect with those players right now. Like there's nothing wrong with that because I think at the end of the day that offense can work. It's just can those pieces stay healthy, and then they're maybe this is a situation where we see Kirk take a step up because maybe Mike Zimmer's not being around means that they'll pass more. So I don't know. Maybe he was willing to give it one more year, but it was kind of ironic that they tried to like they saw the Tom Brady news and they were like, all right, we're just gonna sneak Kirk in there and just
yeah.
let it go and not get any hype out of it.
Yeah, definitely. Want to hear this fun fact? Kirk Cousins with the Vikings is 29, 29, and 2. And so 29 wins, 29 losses, two ties. And he has made a total of $200 million with the Vikings. Tell me that's not insane, man. 29, 29, and 2, and you've made $200 million. Like,
Yep.
man, obviously I need to switch my job and try to become an NFL quarterback because that's ridiculous.
Well, the best part about it is wherever Kirk's going to go after this contract's over, he'll just be. I mean, he might still be a starter somewhere, but he could be a backup and just ride his day out.
Yeah.
But yeah, Bacon says it's going to be 300 million by the end of the contract. That's definitely right. Something that people will forever forget because of where he came from in Washington and then got that major deal. So the Vikings are in again this weird spot where they just flipped over management and a new head coach. Maybe it's to have the offense. I don't know. They'll try to do something differently here that they've kind of never been able to get over the hump. Couple of really good seasons in there too. People forget. So I think that in a spot where Kirk probably saw the writing on the wall for some of the other divisions he could have been going to and said, you know what, we can still be a playoff team here in this expanded format.
Yep,
'Cause I
for
think they
sure.
can. I think they can. I think
I
they
think
can
so
win 10
too.
games.
I think so too.
Yeah.
I mean, you have a talented enough offense. The defense isn't that bad. It confuses me why this Vikings team year after year just doesn't look good because I think they are talented. Talented enough to at least be like you said in that extended playoff situation. All right, let's continue running through NFL free agency. We move to the NFC West as we find out that the Cardinals and Ertz are agreeing to a 3-year deal. I think I saw it's worth $12 million. Correct me if I'm wrong. Seems like a little bit of a bargain for Ertz if I am right on that $12 million over 3 years deal. I don't know. Should be
It's a
interesting.
little more. A
Oh,
little
how
more.
much is it?
It's worth 31 million with
Oh,
17
jeez.
million guaranteed. He wanted to stay in Arizona. He's getting roughly 10 million a year, so that's kind of where your standpoint comes in.
Okay.
It's 17 million guaranteed. So yeah, I mean he's 31 now. He's going to be 32 during this season. Um, he looked great last year, and that's obviously given that DeAndre Hopkins didn't play like the last half of the year. But the Cardinals, if they can keep things going with Kyler and get him situated there, I think that he can be. He has the availability to be a top 5 tight end. It's just will he, and can he stay healthy? Because that's just been the biggest concern for him ever.
Yeah, it has been. Should be interesting to watch. I Now that I know that it was 30, I don't know where I got that $12 million from. But 30 million, I don't know, seems like a lot to pay a 34-year-old or pay someone who will be 34 by the end of the contract. But should be interesting. I don't know. Like you said, he did play pretty well. At least when Hopkins was out, they used him quite a bit. So should be interesting to see. All right, last thing that we're going to talk about, the big news over the weekend, the fact that Amari Cooper got traded to the Browns for a fifth round pick. Everyone was just absolutely shocked by this. How is Amari Cooper worth so much? And I think, at the end of the day, when you take on that much cap space that the Browns did, the Cowboys already said they were going to cut him. They were really without any leverage in this situation,
Yeah,
which is why this type of deal ended up happening.
right here. So here's the thing. I'm actually going to say that Jerry Jones was really smart here
Yeah.
because he could have just said, no, you know what, we'll just part ways and we'll cut you. But they were able to not fleece. So let's get that straight. But at least get something for sending this over. So they could have just decided to not do that. And I mean, the Browns do need a piece like this. It's just people are very, very down on Baker Mayfield, rightfully so. But he's played hurt the last like 3 years. Um, I am very intrigued if Jarvis Landry, he's the other part of this too. But if Jarvis Landry chooses and seeks to go somewhere else, I don't know, man. Amari Cooper could have one of the biggest target shares in the league.
Yeah, no, you have a good point. I mean, those other
Because
three tight ends that
everybody's,
they
yeah, sorry, no, keep going. No, keep going.
No, I was just saying those other three tight ends, are gonna. I was just laughing and making fun of how they have those three tight ends on the roster. They still don't
Yeah,
know what to do with. But outside of that, you don't really have. I mean, Donovan Peoples Jones isn't gonna get the job done as wide receiver too. So you're probably right. I feel like all the talk around the weekend has been Deshaun Watson to Cleveland, and if that's the case, and they somehow do keep Jarvis Landry, and they have Kareem Hunt, and they have Nick Chubb, and they have Amari Cooper, like this doesn't look like that bad. I mean, they already have the defense, man. The defense is nearly complete. I think you need another
yep,
quarter probably, but you have enough cap room. This looks like a really good team. I don't. I think people are really down on them right now, but all it takes is that Watson trade to happen, and they. I mean, you're really at a point too where the AFC North is kind of up for grabs almost. Like I know the Ravens
it
are
is.
solid. Lamar's still good. Don't get me wrong. I'm not. I know Life of Gusti's in the chat. I don't want him leaving. So Lamar's still good, and the Ravens are still well off, but they haven't made many moves. And last year was disappointing, especially when it came to that secondary. Steelers are without a QB right now. Maybe they go out and get Jimmy G, but if they don't get Jimmy G, they're in a huge situation where who the hell is going to be your quarterback next year? And I like that's not enough to secure the division. Getting Deshaun Watson to the Browns nearly secures that division for the Browns, in my opinion. I don't know. What
Yeah.
are your thoughts
Yeah.
there?
Well, first of all, the AFC is loaded.
Yeah,
So
the AC is loaded.
when you're thinking about, because I'm running through situations in my head, and I'm like, okay, if you are a free agent quarterback, like yes, you probably want to try to go to this division, but then you look and you're like, okay, it's actually tougher than I thought it was, and the AFC East is tough. The AFC South is probably the best place to go at the moment, and you can't go there because you are on the Texans. And then the AFC West, there's no spots left. So,
No.
yeah, I mean, people were very down. Going back to the Amari Cooper thing, people, including myself, when I first heard the news, I was like, "What the fuck is this?" Like he's gonna suffer there. And but when you think about it more, if Jarvis Landry leaves, I think Cooper is one of the best fantasy pickups of the offseason because
I
people are
can
going to be so down on him, and he's going to come in and have a 100 reception season.
I'm about to go pick up Amari Cooper everywhere now. Thanks,
No,
Jared.
you can't because I have him in our dynasty league.
Well, I'm not taking him in our dynasty league. You can have him. I'll go elsewhere and find places to get him. But yeah, should be interesting. In other news here, we found out that the Cowboys signed Gallup to a huge contract, 5 years,
Yep.
62 million. Interesting contract to sign a guy to when they're coming off of an ACL injury. What are
Mhm.
your thoughts here?
Yep. After a couple of injury-prone seasons, Gallup did look better when he came back, but I think he was part of a situation where like the Cowboys were in this weird spot, and this is why the Amari Cooper thing was strange. Like it was clear that they said that CD Lamb was their number one, and that's what they did over the weekend. They
Yeah.
made it official that CD is their number one. And I was interested to see how this was going to work out. And this also falls in line with the Dalton Schultz franchise tag situation. Yeah, I mean they're going to be all right. The only thing that they have to figure out now is why are they paying Zeke so much money?
Yeah, right. If you don't pay Zeke so much money, this team looks completely different. Maybe you could spend it elsewhere. Maybe you could spend it on the more defense. Cowboys are very interesting, though. Should be interesting to watch this team over. It should be interesting to see Gallup in this wide receiver two role too, because we talked about it all last year how Gallup felt like the best wide receiver three in the league, and now you get a chance to prove yourself. So hopefully that ACL
Hmm.
injury recovery goes well, and we can see him prove himself. Um,
Yep.
I have a feeling, and this is the last thing we'll talk about for the NFL, and then we'll move on because we have 5 minutes left for all our MLB's talks. We're going to go a little bit over today. I have a feeling about that. I have a feeling Jimmy G gets traded today, so keep an eye out for it. The
Ooh.
rumblings I
Okay.
have seen says that he gets traded today, so it's something to keep an eye out for. And I just think it'll be the Colts, and it'll be for a second round pick with the Niners trading back like a fourth round pick or something like that.
Mm.
So something to keep an eye out for sure. All right, let's move on to the MLB. Talk about everything that's been going on because, man, the first day of MLB news was very slow, but this weekend definitely picked up the slack. There was a ton to talk about. First off, let's talk about this trade that happened last night because everyone was down on the Yankees. All of Yankees fans were down on the Yankees for this deal. When I find myself incredibly excited for this deal. Yankees get Josh Donaldson, Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, and Ben Rovell for Gary Sanchez and Gio Urshela. Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, a Golden Glove winner. Josh Donaldson, someone who just hit 25 plus home runs last year. Ben Rovell isn't exactly the most talented bat, but a very good catcher. And
Hmm.
I like this group, man. I'm excited for Donaldson. I'm excited for I've always liked IKF, so I'm ecstatic to have him on my team now. And it sucks that we had to trade away Urshela, but bye bye Sanchez, man. Like I am so happy I don't have to deal with Gary Sanchez for another season. Like yeah, I'm happy that he's gone.
Yep. This is basically the Yankees saying we actually need an actual defensive catcher, and Ben Rortvedt is one of the best in the league when it comes to that.
Yeah,
So I like the move for them. The Twins have made it known that Gary Sanchez will be used as a DH and backup catcher, according to Bob Nightingale,
good
which
luck.
came after this. So yeah, I know, right? So they also just traded away Mitch Garver too. So like
No.
they are in this interesting situation. So I think that the underrated piece here is where do they put Kiner Falefa, because I think he's a guy that could really step in and cruise in a spot where you won't have to be like he's not gonna. Well, I mean he could be a number two bat, but like he's gonna be a guy that that could thrive in a situation where you have so many studs batting around you that this could be a spot where somebody could shine, and I think it could be him.
Yeah, I think you put him at shortstop. I think it's a no-brainer. You've had terrible shortstops throughout the whole entire Glaber Torres era. You put him at shortstop and you call it a day, and you lets Glaber move back to second base where he belongs. It lets Josh Donaldson play third and DJ play
Yep.
first. It kind of brings into question like how much are we still in the running for a guy like Rizzo or a guy like Olson or even Freddie Freeman. I feel like this
Oh,
kind of takes
yeah.
us out of the running for all those guys.
Yep.
But I still think you could see another trade. I don't think the Yankees are done here quite yet. I think getting a catcher is really important, and Oh my gosh, people in the chat. Losing streak said, yeah, terrible shortstops like Jeter. I said terrible shortstops in the Gleyber Torres era. I need you
Jeez.
to just stop. No more of that. You're about to get a timeout. Regardless, though, I think that this is a good move for their infield. This makes IKF's a fantastic. He was a Gold Glover in 2020, so
Yep.
it
Yep.
it's a really solid pickup in my opinion.
Yeah, I know. I like the deal for the Yankees. They do take on Donaldson's contract, but at the end of the day, they will be able to pay for it. So,
No,
uh, so I agree with you, and I will go as far as saying I think that the Yankees are done making moves.
really,
Uh,
I don't think they're
I
done.
think
I think they pick up another catcher. I think
okay.
there's a
Well, that
lot of
makes
talk.
a little sense. Yeah, but
Yeah,
like I think that they are out of the big market moves now.
yes, I would agree. Potentially a Rizzo pickup, maybe if they decide to get funky with something, but I don't think they're gonna get a big guy. I don't think they're gonna trade away a lot of pieces to get Olsen. I don't think they pay the big bucks to get Freddie Freeman. I think at the end of the day that they're just going to sit on the sidelines a little bit more now that all of that is done. All right. Let's keep talking about the MLB because plenty more happened. We had Chris Bassett end up signing to the Mets. Uh, this is the start of Oakland trading away all their pieces. Um, what do you think about this signing though? Because I kind of like it for the Mets. In all honesty,
Love it for the Mets. Bassett is a number one pitcher. He won't have to be here. It's they're making moves, man, and they've made it very well known that they came out and said that the Mets are going to go over the cap to
you
compete
know,
this year.
yeah, and they're going to go pretty far over the cap too. They're going to go
Very far
very
over.
far. They're going to go
Yeah.
very far over the cap, so it should be interesting. Just going over some other news: Nelson Cruz to the Nationals, Kershaw back with the Dodgers, Sonny Gray to Minnesota. I don't know. As a
hmm
Sonny Gray whisperer, I'm not too thrilled about that Minnesota move, but we'll have to see. Mitch Garver to the Rangers. Lots happened in the MLB, and lots more to come. Right? We still have to see where Carlos Correa goes. Seems like talks are really picking back up with him going to the Astros. We have to find out where Freddie Freeman goes. Rizzo has to go somewhere. Like there's still a lot of guys that need to make their decisions, and we're seeing them slowly tick off as the week goes on because we have spring training this week. So these guys need to sign and then go meet with their team and then get ready for some to get some training in.
Yep, spring training starts this week. Korn made mention of that in the old MLB channel. The new MLB channel will be starting today. I believe somebody, I'm pretty sure it was Goosty, already messaged us inside of that new chat. So we'll have
Nice.
MLB packages announcements live this evening. So keep an eye on that in the server. Losing Streak says I've been the harshest Kershaw critic, but I'm glad he's back. Yeah, he's signing at least for one more season, right? So they can go run it back. And yeah, Nelson Cruz to the Nats is an interesting development as well. We're gonna see all of those moves probably happen in the next 7 days because they're basically what 3 weeks out now, and they need to start spring training. And obviously, these guys have been working since December anyway, so it's just now getting them to their appropriate teams and getting things going. So, yeah, keep an eye on MLB packages announcements this evening, and we can't wait. We're super stoked, and we I wish we had more time to talk about it, but we got to get off today.
Yeah, we sadly do. Like you said, spring training packages go live tonight. Should be a good time. Let's talk about NHL blind dogs very quickly and then get out of here. I still have no clue how we've been doing. We really need someone to like keep track for us what happens because I have no clue what we
Uh,
picked the day before, and then we just got
no
to keep
idea,
rolling.
no idea. And we have one game today, so it's
Oh,
fun times.
nice, sweet.
We'd be done with this now. No, we have to make it through the whole regular
We
season.
have
But
to.
there's only one game today, and so there's only one dog, and that dog is one of the worst teams in the NHL. So we have to
Nice.
play the Arizona Coyotes plus 131 on the
Let's
road.
do it. Riding with the Coyotes, I guess. All right. Bacon said, "Thanks, guys. Congrats again on the news from this weekend. Much we appreciate it, man. We appreciate it a ton. And yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun. So, Jared, any final thoughts before we get out of here? If not, then let's get off.
Final thoughts: March Madness bracket available in the announcements tab. We'll mention it every single day until Thursday, and then obviously a big announcement for MLB packages going live later this evening.
Sweet. Let's get it done. Let's get out of here. As always, my name is Joshua Reimer. Good morning and good skill.